There is a simple, almost forgotten way to let sunlight do more than warm your skin. An ancient-seeming method that uses clear water as a translator, carrying a subtle quality into your body and attention. Today I'll show you, step by careful step, how to prepare solarized water and pair it with a gentle somatic ritual aimed at the region people often call the third eye, the pineal. This is a practice, experiential, safe when done thoughtfully, and timeless in its feel. It is not medical treatment, and I'll be clear about safety as we go. If this kind of practice resonates with you, tap subscribe now to follow this short series on safe energetic methods. I'll keep the offerings grounded and practical. There's a lineage of thought that gives this simple act a deeper flavor. In certain Gnostic texts, found among the Nag Hammadi manuscripts, and in writings sometimes grouped under the title Gospel of Philip, there are suggestions that light, water, and attention played roles in inner rites. I mention those sources only to set a tone, a way of reclaiming personal access to subtle perception, rather than to assert historical certainty. Think of those references as a stylistic map. They color the atmosphere of what we do, without making claims about objective history or offering doctrinal verdicts. Before we touch any water or place our hands, a brief anatomical note. The pineal gland is a small endocrine organ tucked deep in the center of the brain. Over centuries it has worn many names, the seat of the soul in some philosophies, the third eye in many traditions. Scientifically, it produces melatonin and helps regulate circadian rhythms. Experientially, people associate the area behind the forehead and between the eyebrows with altered perception, inner imagery, and dream clarity. When I speak of energizing or opening, understand those words as descriptions of subjective shifts in attention and subtle sensation, not as promises about physical changes to tissue or guaranteed medical outcomes. Safety first. This is a spiritual and attentional practice, not medical advice. If you have health concerns, are pregnant, are immunocompromised, or are on medication, consult a healthcare professional before changing anything about ingestion or hydration. Do not add unknown herbs, essential oils, or chemicals to your water. Do not heat water in plastic or leave sealed bottles in a hot car. Use clean water, food-safe containers, and common-sense hygiene. Materials you will need are minimal and easy to find. Clean, filtered water or bottled spring water you trust. If your tap water is reliably safe and you prefer it, filter it first. A clear glass jar or bottle. Plain, transparent glass. Avoid plastic. Glass lets light pass without off-gassing or trapping heat the way some plastics can. A place in direct sunlight, such as a balcony, a windowsill with unobstructed sun, a garden table, or a safe patch of ground. Mid-morning to early afternoon sun is ideal for clarity of light. Avoid placing the bottle where it will overheat in a closed car. A clean cloth or glass lid optional. You may leave the jar open to the air or cover it with a fine cloth if you prefer to keep dust out. If you use a lid, choose glass or food-safe metal. A small glass cup for later sipping, if you choose to drink a tiny amount as part of the ritual. Preparing the water. Simple, careful, and intentional. 1. Clean your container. Wash the glass with warm water and a mild soap, rinse thoroughly, and let it air dry. If you prefer, you can wipe it with a clean cloth. The point is cleanliness, not sterilization. 2. Fill the jar with fresh, cool water. Leave a little headspace at the top. You don't need to fill it to the brim. If you are using spring or filtered water, pour slowly with gratitude. If your water has a history of chlorine or other taste, let it sit briefly so volatile tastes can dissipate. 3. Place the jar in direct sunlight. If you have a south-facing windowsill in the northern hemisphere, or north-facing in the southern hemisphere, that receives bright sun, that will work. If the light must pass through window glass, be aware that ordinary window glass filters some ultraviolet frequencies. The water will still receive a warming and clarifying influence, but it's not the same as full, open-air sunlight. If you can set it outside in a safe, clean spot, That is most direct. 4. Recommended solar window. 2 to 4 hours of direct sun is a practical, safe range for most conditions. 2 hours in clear, strong sun can be sufficient. 4 hours gives a fuller exposure. Avoid leaving the jar in a sealed hot environment for many hours, for example inside a closed car on a hot day, where the water might overheat. If your environment is very hot, choose morning sun or a cooler part of the day. 5. Cover or not. If you prefer to keep the jar open, you may do so. Alternatively, cover it loosely with a clean cloth to prevent dust. If you cover it, choose a breathable fabric that doesn't trap heat or create condensation. Do not use plastic wrap that will press against the glass and potentially leach if warmed. 6. Alternatives for cloudy days. Short sunbursts, placing the water in bright light for 20-45 minutes, repeated across multiple days, can accumulate a similar effect. Another option is moon charging. Set the jar outside overnight beneath the moonlight on a clear night. Moon charging has a different quality, softer, reflective, and can be used when solar exposure is not available. 7. Storage after charging. When the exposure is complete, retrieve the jar and place it in a clean place. If you plan to drink a small sip, decant what you will use into a small glass cup and keep the rest sealed in glass in the refrigerator or in a cool, dark place. Use the water within a few days. Do not store prepared water in plastic if it will be heated later. A few practical safety notes. Avoid adding anything to the water that you haven't checked for toxicity or interactions. If you keep the jar outdoors, avoid leaving it open in areas where animals may contaminate it. If you are allergic to pollen or are sensitive to outdoor particulates, prefer indoor windowsill exposure or use a cloth cover. Do not label the water as medicine. This is a focused attentional tool. Now for the ritual that pairs the solarized water with somatic attention. This sequence adapts a traditional 3-point somatic check, base of skull, lateral hand, upper sternum, into a safe, experiential practice. It is designed to bring attention into the body, to quiet the mind, and to permit subtle perceptions to surface. All movements are gentle and optional. Find a quiet, comfortable seat in a well-lit spot. If you can be in natural light, that aligns with the solarized water. Sit with your spine long, feet grounded, and shoulders relaxed. Set the jar of solarized water nearby within easy reach, or pour a small sip into your glass if you prefer. Start with 3 slow, deliberate breaths. Inhale through the nose, feel the belly rise, and exhale fully through the mouth or nose, whatever feels natural. Each breath is a small realignment of attention. First somatic point, the base of the skull. Bring your awareness to the place where your skull meets your neck, the soft hollow beneath the occipital ridge. Place the pads of your fingers gently there, without pressure. You might feel muscle, a small hollow, or simply warmth. Rest your fingers and allow your attention to settle into whatever sensation is present. Tension, warmth, coolness, or even nothing. Keep the touch light and exploratory. This is not a diagnostic palpation, but a mindful check. After about 20 to 30 seconds of quiet sensing, release and rest your hands in your lap. Second somatic point, the lateral edge of the hand. Extend one hand, palm facing in, and with the opposite fingertips trace slowly along the outside edge of the hand, from the base of the little finger, along the outer margin, down to the wrist. Use soft touch and let your attention follow the line. Notice any sensations, tingling, subtle texture, a shift in temperature, or simply the rhythm of the tracing itself. The hand can act as a somatic antenna, a place you already inhabit, easy to access, and tracing it helps to redistribute attention from the busy mind into tactile presence. Repeat this tracing 2 or 3 times, gently, then switch to the other hand if you wish. Third somatic point, the upper sternum, the place just above the breastbone at the center of the chest. Bring 2 fingers to rest lightly at this point. As you place your fingers, lengthen your exhale and allow your throat to soften. Breathe into the chest area, not forcing anything, just inviting a sense of resonance. Some people notice warmth, a subtle vibration, or an easing. Others notice silence. Any reaction is valid. This place is often associated with voice and presence. Touching it while breathing helps anchor intention into the body. At this time, if you feel called to ingest a small sip of the solarized water, do so deliberately and slowly. Take no more than a teaspoon to a tablespoon. This is symbolic and attentional, not a hydration prescription. Notice the sensation of the liquid in your mouth, the texture, the temperature. Swallow with attention. If you are on medical restrictions or you have any uncertainty, skip the sip and use the same mindful ritual without ingestion. After the sip, or after the 3rd somatic point if you choose not to drink, offer a short, rhythmical declaration aloud, a phrase to align attention. Keep it simple and present tense. Here are 2 options you can use or adapt. I open my inner gaze. I see with calm clarity. I hold light within. My attention is clear and steady. Speak your chosen line once, with intention, while placing the right hand above the upper sternum and the left hand resting softly over the base of the skull, or simply using whichever comfortable hand positions support focus. The declaration is an alignment tool, a way to bring voice, breath, and touch into a single thread of attention. It is not a magical incantation. It is a focus technique. As you finish the declaration, rest for a moment and observe. Notice thoughts that arise. Name them if you like. Thinking, doubt, planning, and then return your attention to breath and body. In many esoteric maps, internal resistance or intrusive doubt is personified as an interfering force. Some call these archons. Whether you use that metaphor or not, the practical instruction is the same. Notice distraction without argument, and return to the somatic anchor. The more you treat each thought as a passing event rather than a verdict, the more space you create for subtle sensations to appear. If you encounter emotional material, unexpected feelings, images, or memories, tend to them with kindness. Lower the volume of expectation. Keep a journal nearby. After the practice, jot down what you noticed in a few simple lines. Physical sensations, impressions, change in breathing, images that appeared, shifts in dream clarity that night. Track over several days. Subtle practices like this rarely produce dramatic overnight transformations. They are accumulative. The journal becomes your personal record, a private ledger of what attention reveals. Repeat cadence and timing. You can perform this ritual once after preparing a fresh batch of solarized water, or you can integrate a short version daily using a small jar kept refrigerated for a day or 2. If you plan to repeat the entire solarizing process frequently, consider preparing multiple small jars and rotating them so each receives direct sunlight at the appropriate time rather than leaving a single jar long exposed. If you prefer a morning routine, prepare the water the day before and place it in the sun that morning for 2 to 3 hours. Perform the somatic ritual upon waking or after morning coffee. If evenings are your contemplative time, moon charge the jar overnight and perform the sequence before sleep. Many people notice changes in dream vividness when working with night-charged water. Cloudy weather guidance. On overcast days, try multiple short exposures, 20 to 45 minutes of bright light, repeated across 2 or 3 days. The cumulative effect can be similar and prevents the temptation to overheat the jar. Indoor windowsill placement is permissible. Just be aware that ordinary glass filters ultraviolet wavelengths, so the qualitative character of exposure will be somewhat different. If you have a greenhouse or a place with glass that lets through fuller spectra, use it cautiously and ensure the glass is clean. Common questions and anticipations. You may wonder if you are doing it right or feel anxious about chasing a particular sensation. Expect variance. Some sessions will feel inert. Some will offer a quiet sense of clarity or a gentle pressure behind the eyes. Others will affect your dreams or mood. This practice is primarily an attentional tool, a way to orient to subtle experience. If nothing seems to happen, that is itself information. The practice may be working at a deeper, quieter level. Keep a humble curiosity rather than a demand for proof. A note about belief and skepticism. Doubt is not an obstacle to practice. It is part of the field. If thoughts rise that insist the method is nonsense, treat them as passing phenomena. You might mentally name them archon for the sake of metaphorical distance. Images, thoughts that try to claim authority over your attention. Observe the thought. Feel where it registers in the body. Then return to breath and the somatic anchors. Over time, your capacity to sit with uncertainty without immediate reaction will grow. That is itself a form of awakening. Keep the ritual non-invasive. Do not press deeply into joints or sensitive areas. If you feel pain, ease away. If you have a neck injury or spinal concerns, skip the base of skull palpation or adapt it to a purely attentional focus. Place your awareness there without touch. If you have cardiac issues, place hands lightly at a distance rather than on the sternum. Always prioritize bodily comfort. Tracking and integration. After each practice, write one sentence in your journal about what you noticed. Over a week, look for patterns, changes in dream intensity, a new clarity in thought, a subtle calmness in the middle of the day, or no change at all. Resist the urge to judge your results. The purpose is to cultivate a stable channel of attention and somatic awareness. Shifts in perception are secondary and, when they occur, are best met with curiosity. If you decide to explore this method over several weeks, consider a simple protocol. Prepare solarized water 2 to 3 times a week, practice the somatic sequence daily or every other day, and keep a short journal. Compare how you feel after 1 week, 2 weeks, and 4 weeks. Remember, no promised cure, no guaranteed physical rewiring, only the possibility of subtle shifts as attention and ritual shape your nervous system's tone. A few practical boundaries I'll repeat. Never add unknown substances to the water. Do not use plastic containers in direct sun. Do not interpret sensations as medical diagnoses. Do not abruptly stop prescribed medications because of spiritual experiences. If unusual or concerning symptoms arise, dizziness, fainting, severe headaches, stop the practice and consult a medical professional. For those who wish to deepen the ritual vocabulary, here are a few optional, gentle variations that remain within safe boundaries. Breath-bound declaration. After the somatic checks, inhale for a count that feels comfortable. Silently align your intention, and exhale while saying your short declaration softly. Use the voice as a steadying tool rather than a performance. Two-handed exchange. Hold the small glass cup in both hands for a moment before taking a sip, attuning to the temperature and the weight as a way of centering. Night journaling. Keep the jar and a pen by your bedside. If you wake with an image or dream, note it before it slips away. Language of sovereignty and reclaiming. Why this ritual matters to some people is not because of promise, but because it returns agency to the embodied person. In many cultural narratives, access to subtle perception has been mediated by authorities. Rituals like these are not a rejection of wisdom traditions, but an invitation to personal verification. What you feel in your body, what you observe in your dreams. The practice becomes a way to test, privately and humbly, whether attention can be trained to notice previously unnoticed dimensions of experience. If you try the practice, share one word in the comments naming what you noticed tonight. Quiet, warmth, dream, nothing. Whatever fits. That single word helps create a small field of shared inquiry without turning the conversation into an argument about outcomes. Close with a final reminder. This method, preparing solarized water, engaging the 3 somatic checks, offering a short affirmation, is a safe, modest way to orient your attention to the pineal region and to cultivate a refined relationship with subtle sensation. It borrows tone from older strands of esoteric practice while remaining practical and cautious. It is a ritual of attention more than a technology of guaranteed effects. If you made it this far and you want more practices like this, simple, safe, and grounded, consider subscribing so you'll be notified when the next short guide is released. Try one cycle of preparation and ritual over the next several days, keep your journal handy, and return with curiosity rather than expectation. I'll leave you with the brief declaration again. Speak it aloud if you wish, or hold it quietly as an intention. I open my inner gaze. I see with calm clarity. Place your hands where they feel steady, one at the base of the skull, one at the center of the chest. Breathe, and let the sunlight and water meet your attention. When you are ready, leave one word below, naming what you noticed.